back on time.
Magic. Just like that.
We'll call our meeting to order. This is a work session, the Mayor and Borough Council, the Borough of Seaside Park, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, held on Thursday, November 7th, 2024, advertised for 7 p.m. Pursuant to the provisions of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was properly provided by transmitting the notice of the meeting for publication in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger on January 5th, 2024. Notice of the meeting in the governing body has been posted in the corridor of the municipal building and in the office of the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Councilmember Anfield?
Here.
Councilmember Condos?
Here.
Councilmember Connor?
Here.
Councilmember Kraft?
Here.
Councilmember Rotunda?
Here.
Thank you. Council President Wilk?
Here.
Mayor Peterson?
Here.
Thank you.
And we have our engineer here, and before we do number 4, number 5 is also on for the regular meeting with Resolution 224-317. Must be adopted every year by a municipality in terms of a checklist required by the DCA in order to qualify for funding. I want to make sure everyone is aware of that, and the borough's score has actually gone up considerably this last year. And in the past, you have to achieve on the checklist of points at least 35 points for eligibility for funding through the DCA. And last year, we were at 36, and now we're at 42. So does anyone have any questions on that? That's on for the regular meeting as well.
I just had some not corrections, but possible corrections to it, I guess. I'll give them to Karen, she can check it out.
Already here.
For what? Oh, I couldn't.
I'm sorry, are we talking about that item before the?
Number 5 on the
Best practices.
DCA checklist?
Yeah, no, I went through it all and I found a couple things that I thought, might need to be updated. Those are item number 13 and item 65A and 44. So, I mean, they might be correct, I just, I wasn't sure if that was the right answer or not.
I'm just,
I'll just give them to Karen and she can check them out.
with Karen, is that what you said?
Yeah. It's just on those 3 things, Karen.
Okay.
I would have given to you sooner, but I wasn't available.
And number 44 needs an answer, is that what?
Yeah.
It doesn't say yes or no, but that's the issue, and the answer would be no.
I probably just didn't print out, I guess, properly on this because,
Yeah, that one's pretty easy.
yeah. Same thing on 13, do we have a user-friendly budget? The answer is yes.
Yeah,
So maybe they just didn't print out on the printed copy,
that's what it seems.
but I'll
like.
look on the electronic copy that we submitted just to double check.
Yeah. And what was the other ones? The other one, 65.
Social media accounts, yeah, the answer was yes.
Right.
Yeah, that one was multiple choice, so I think the multiple options you could choose got cut off.
Okay.
So when we submit the final, those 3
Yeah.
items can be noted, and a resolution or motion at the regular meeting to raise those 3 points.
Yeah.
Anything else on that, number 5 then?
No, man.
Okay. If not, we'll go into number 4, and that is a hearing on the Phase 1 of proposed construction of well number 11. And that too is a process necessary in order to be eligible for low interest or no interest loans, grants, etc. And we have Pam Hilla here from RVE. If we can turn over to her the presentation.
So how would you like to do this? Would you want me to take the microphone and
Yes, please.
stand up here? Okay. I wasn't sure if you wanted it. And I am going to face the crowd. All right, thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Pam Hilla. I'm with Remington Burnick Engineers. Can everybody hear me okay? As a requirement of the application that the borough currently has to perform a test well within the borough, there's an existing application into the I-Bank for the test well there. We're looking to have a public meeting to just go over the scope of the project, identify the location, provide you guys with details on what the project schedule, what the scope of work is going to include, as well as costs, and receive public input from as it relates to this project. So just to touch on the site location, as far as the proposed test well location is going to be constructed at 1505 North Ocean Avenue. So this map right here shows it's located at the corner of Lafayette Avenue and North Ocean. The proposed location is around 1,650 feet from existing well 10, which is located along the bayfront. It is also proposed to be located approximately 1,600 feet from well 6 and just over 7,600 feet from existing wells 9 and wells 8, which are located on the public works lot on the south side of Seaside Park. Phase 1 of the project is going to include the installation of a test well. So this will be a triple cased well that will be installed on the site to determine the water quality as well as the specific capacity of the well. So the well would need to pump for a period of either 24 to 72 hours in order to determine the specific capacity of the well, as well as the wells in the surrounding area would be used to monitor the well in the cone of influence. This step would be required in order to eventually convert the well into what's called a safe drinking water well. So that would be phase 2 of the project. So once the test well is performed, you have to do a full analysis of the well to be able to then convert it into a safe drinking water well. At the phase 2 of the project, that would entail constructing a building around the well, all the incidentals, piping, connecting it into the water system, as well as backup generation and parking amenities, access to the site. As far as the location of the well, we did look at other locations. One of the concerns with the location at well 10, the reason why well 10 is not being utilized is because there are water quality issues because of surface intrusion that has caused the well to require filtration. The borough did consider installing a filtration plant at this location, but the costs, there were high costs associated not only to construction, but the long-term maintenance and operation of the treatment plant. This well, as long as it produces the better water quality as seen as well 6, 8, and 9, those wells do not require filtration. They operate. They have very good water quality, and They just require chlorination before entering to the system. So that is why this location was looked at. It's better protected from sea level rise, potential flood resiliency. The existing elevation of the property is about elevation of 12 feet. So it is better protected as it relates to a critical water facility. And I do know that there were some questions as far as why other locations were not considered for this well. The Park Central lot at the corner of 3rd and Central, it is much lower elevation. It's about an elevation of 5, whereas the flood resiliency requires the well to be at an elevation of 17. So there would be a significant elevation requirement if the well was located at that site. With regards to the other property, which is located at the corner of N Street and Ocean, that site is in closer proximity to well 6. So that's why the site that's being proposed, we feel, is a better location because it is further away from the existing well 6. And one thing I do want to discuss is the cost for the project. There's 2 phases. So the initial phase of the project is going to include the test well. It's going to include the pump test, the full water quality analysis. The phase 1 of the project is estimated to be approximately $1 million. Phase 2 of the project, that includes the construction of the well building, the generator, the amenities, the connection to the water distribution system. That is also estimated to be just over $1 million. So with regards to the loan application to the iBank, the borough is currently in the process of applying for what's called a nano loan, which offers up to $1 million in principal forgiveness for this project. So the borough, because it is a small water system, would qualify for up to $1 million in potentially grant money to be used for this project. But it does require both phases of the project. So it's the project would be bid under 2 different contracts, but it would be encumbered under one loan application. One of the other points that we did want to talk about was we had looked at potentially drilling in different aquifers. There are other aquifers in the area. One of the restrictions here specifically is the critical area 1 restricts drilling another well in the upper Potomac Raritan aquifer. So there are some restrictions based off of our experience and the water quality in the area. The Piney Point does offer the best water quality. The other aquifers in this area do require filtration. So the Piney Point would be it would produce the best water quality. And from an operating and maintenance perspective, long term, it would provide you with the most cost-effective option. And then, I guess, just to kind of, wrap this up, I did provide just a rough conceptual plan. This plan that's being presented today, it does slightly differ from what the plans were that are posted online. The plans online show the generator to be located between the building and Lafayette Avenue, whereas the conceptual plan before you shows the generator located on the other side of the building, so it's a little bit better buffered from Lafayette Avenue. I did want to just let everybody know that, you know, at this point, everything is still conceptual in nature. I also provided some pictures of some existing well houses, just for a reference point. Typically, they're either finished with some type of split block finish or or siding. This house, it appears to be a house, is actually a well building. This is located in South Seaside Park. This also is, it looks like a glorified shed. Some have siding. There's different finishings, and there's different options the borough can pursue once they get to phase 2 of the project. I just wanted to give people kind of a visual of the size and the aesthetics of the building and what kind of options there are. I do feel that kind of summarizes the project. I think that I'd like to kind of open it up to mayor council and if you have any specific questions for
Yeah,
me.
Pam might mention that the pump is actually underground
The pump
and
is
therefore
underground.
quiet.
So everything, yes, so the pump would be underground. The casing, would be about 500 feet deep, and there would be a pump installed into the well to draw the water up to the surface.
Thank you.
Pam,
Yes.
what's the plan? You said, explain to me a test well. What if we drill and water's no good? What happens then? We got a new site in town, we gotta look. Is that what happens?
The project would,
This project is no good, it's quite obvious. I mean, you're saying we drill a test well, we're gonna test the water, and the water decides no good, then we'll go back to the drawing board?
well, you would have to address it at that point. You'd either move forward with filtration, or you'd have to look at an alternative solution to
Okay.
address your firm capacity issues, because you have firm capacity issues without another well online. So you would have to either purchase water or find an alternative solution.
Okay.
Can I ask you one also question? When you mentioned, I know you said we looked at Park Central and the elevations, and then I think I heard you say that whatever the requirement is has to be at 17-foot elevation, so you'd still have to do some.
So the current resiliency requirements affiliated with federal grants are, you have to design the critical water, anything associated with safe drinking water, you have to design to the 500-year storm event, and then incorporate another 5 foot of freeboard on top of that for anticipated sea level rise.
So that's why it goes up to
So
the.
that's why it goes up to
Okay.
17,
Right.
so between the 500-year plus 5%,
Okay.
which I've been arguing with the DP a little bit about that, but it seems to be that's their interpretation of how the new resiliency requirements need to
Well, we
be.
have to
Thanks
go-
for that clarification, because I thought that we were up high enough, and that was one of the reasons also. So it was 12, but it's the 5 beyond that is to meet that requirement.
Mhm.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
How far we have to drill down, Pam?
500 feet.
500 feet?
Pam, would you mind explaining firm capacity, so everyone understands we reference firm capacity and why it's so important for us?
So the borough currently has a water allocation permit with the DEP. They have to look at what all of the wells in the borough are capable of producing, okay? And they compare that to what your peak month demand is peak demand is over the last 5 years. So the DEP looks at a 5-year projection of what your peak usage is, and you have to be able to determine, you have to be able to take your largest producing well out of service, and you need to be able to demonstrate that you can meet your peak demand with the wells in service. So right now, well 10 is not in service, and wells 8 and 9 are they are restricted from running at the same time. They're backup wells to one another. So technically, well 6 is your largest producing well. So if you took well 6 offline, well 8 or well 9 alone would not be able to meet the borough's berm capacity needs. They would not be able to produce enough water during a peak period of usage to provide enough water to the berm. So that's where you have a berm capacity deficit right now, which you can go online. The DEP knows well 10 is not in operation right now. So if you went online onto the DEP's website, it would say that there is a deficit. So that would impact any potential future development, expansion, any new housing that the borough's looking to do. It would impact that.
And if you just go through why multiple wells could not be run at the same time, and why 6 has to be far enough away, number 11 has to be far away from number 6 as possible.
So with regards to 8 and 9, they are in the same aquifer, and there's a cone of influence that impacts the production of the well. So the DEP in the borough's water allocation permit strictly prohibits well 8 and 9 from operating at the same time. It is restricted with the DEP. So with regards to a potential cone of influence that we have, the new proposed well, we would anticipate, there could be drawdown within several, couple thousand feet from where the well is. So the location of the proposed well, we're looking to maximize as much as possible from well 6, because well 6 will remain an active well. And then the goal is for well 10 to be fully decommissioned. So the goal is to maintain adequate clearance, so that way the wells don't interfere with one another, and that you can have the highest specific capacity out of the wells, because the closer the wells are together, the less you can draw from them.
Any other council comments or questions of Pam?
No.
Do you want me to put this microphone back for the public and I can sit at the table?
Yeah.
You
we're-
can sit at the table.
Yeah, we'll entertain, and then maybe, Pam, these are all live mics on the table too, then we could have any public comments or questions, and if anyone has them, if they could give their name and address into the record. Is that one near by Karen, is that?
Yeah.
Pam, can you?
That's alive.
Yes.
June Korsaneski, 114H. I just have one question. What is the difference in price? You're talking $2 million for the new well. What is the difference between that and what it would cost us to do a filtration for well 10 that is already built?
The filtration, that was bid, came in around $5 million, and that was just for the construction. So the long-term maintenance and operation, it would require more electric, it would require more chemicals, it would require regular media replacement, which can cost several $100,000s every, 8 to 10 years. And just more maintenance with regards to the operation of the treatment plant.
If you
And when you're
figured
talking-
125,000 a year is what we.
When you're talking 2 million, is that all in?
So the cost, so between the construction costs and the soft cost administration costs, and the I-Bank requires what's called like a contingency. The loan application was estimated to be around like $2.3 million. And then of that, you're looking at $1 million in grant money, principal forgiveness, that will, not be encumbered by the borough. because of the loan opportunity for small water systems, it is a great opportunity for the borough, and that is the grant program that we're applying for right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm Tom Joseph, 704 South Bayview Avenue. I think we do need another well. I'm perfectly okay with that, and I've read some things about what it's going to cost to treat well number 10, and I agree the cost of doing that's ridiculous. So we shouldn't do that. So I'm just going to ask some questions because I'd like to think we should do this right. So my first question is a pretty simple one. The mayor introduced this public meeting as an opportunity to talk about phase 1. The public notice on the town website says we're going to talk about phase 1 and phase 2. The public notice on the website says the cost of the project, the words that are used, the project, which therefore is phase 1 and phase 2, is $1.05 million. The public notice is sloppy at best, dishonest at worst. I don't know where it is, but all I know is it's dead wrong. So that's the first issue I have with this. We've got to do better than that. Okay, set that aside. Where is the expert-based study that tells us what went wrong, what we did wrong in drilling, casing, housing, everything with well 10? Because without that, how do we know that we're correcting those problems? If we don't know we're correcting those problems, what we're standing here doing is saying, let's take $1 million dart and throw it at the wall and see what happens. Because that's what we're talking about here. And if we know what went wrong with well 10 and what we did wrong when we drilled it, when we housed it, when we cased it, when we did all the things we did to create well 10, whether it was in the planning or any of the other things, because I have no idea what was wrong with well 10. But if we don't know the root cause of why well 10 isn't useful, how do we know we've made the corrections for well 11? When you look at the plan for well 10, the profile of the well down the hole, and you look at the profile for well 11, to first order, they look very similar. And I'm not an expert. I can't look at them and go, oh, I see why this one is better than this one. Why, before we spend $1 million to throw a dart against the wall, wouldn't we spend $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 to hire an expert who knows what they're doing, who is not getting up and saying, well, I think it's this way or I think it's that way, but is actually an expert with credentials and licenses who can tell us either here's what you did wrong, or there's no way to know, but this is our best opportunity. Wouldn't it be worth the investment? Because $1 million to me is a lot of money. I hope it is to you guys, but I wonder. So that's the first issue I have with this. My second issue is the location of the well. And I mentioned this 2 weeks ago at the last council meeting, but I'm going to mention it again. Pam said when she was standing up there, because of the drawdown issue, the wells have to be apart. She said a couple of thousand feet. It's 1,600 and some odd feet according to your drawing. So they're not a couple of thousand feet apart, 6 and 11. So she's already said that the site you picked out is wrong. That is what was presented here.
I said the cone of influence can be up to a couple thousand feet.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that wells can't be within a couple thousand feet.
But I'm going to come back to my question, which is, if we look around and ask, where in the city could we put this well? There's all sorts of places that are more than a couple of thousand feet away from there. But the most obvious one is Park Central. The well as planned on Desert Palm is at grade, and then it's cased up 4 feet to get to that 17 feet. So it's got a 48-inch casing at the top of it to make its effective height 17 feet, the elevation we need to hit to meet the requirement for flood and all the rest of the 500-year stuff. That's great. But if you go to Park Central, that just has to be taller above grade. It's just a thick metal tube that extends up as high as it needs to
17 feet above let's just say it's 6 feet there, then that's 11 feet it has to go up. So all total, when you build the well house, it's going to look like a 2-story building instead of a 1-story building. I don't believe that's the reason why we can't put it there. Come up with something else maybe. But if you put it at Park Central, it's 0.6 of a mile from well 6, and it's 0.5 of a mile from wells 8 and 9. That makes it farther away than this one is, to me. And when you add on top of that, that Desert Palm is Ocean Avenue real estate, I come away with, we're taking the most expensive in dollars per square inch lot that we will own at some point, and I don't know when that is, whether it's in the past or the future, and we're going to put a well on it. Thank you, Karen. I have more questions, but if my time's out, my time's out.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Edie Klein, 48 11th Avenue. My question is, when this project is finished and I drive by that property, is everything under that little house, or is there something outside of that little house?
Generator.
The generator right now is shown to be outside of the house.
And what would the approximate dimensions be of a generator?
I do have a photo that shows a generator, so I'm not sure if you can see this. But this is a visual of the generator. There are generators at all the other well locations.
Okay, so altogether,
It's approximately about 8 feet by 12 feet long.
so altogether, what chunk of the Desert Palm property are we talking about?
We're looking at the northern section, so there would have to be an access drive. Right now, the building is shown about 25 feet off this property line, and then there's a generator that would be behind that. So it would be about a quarter of the property.
Okay, and that would be enough of a buffer that if something else was decided to do with the rest of the property, it could be done?
I mean, I'm not sure what the borough has planned for the rest of the
I'm not
property.
asking what they've had planned, I want to know
It's
if it's
available.
possible, I'm going with the wells in.
The wells in, there's.
Okay, is it possible then to section off the rest of the property, for example, and sell it? Could that be done? Is there enough of a buffer between what the well requirements are and the rest of the property? Is that a possibility? I'm not saying that's what's planned, I'm just asking if that's a possibility.
I would say yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Yes, Shirley?
Shirley Crescent, 700 Bayview. If we did not own Desert Palm, where would you be putting the well? You must have been looking at a couple different areas, I would think. So if you didn't own Desert Palm, what would we be doing about a well now?
We would be doing a treatment plant for $5 million.
We couldn't put it on N Street, on the back of that
We
property.
just had testimony to that.
It's too close to J Street. We
How far away is that from N Street?
It's about.
Two blocks. Two blocks, I believe.
It's about. It's about 1,000 feet. Approximately.
And that would not be possible. I'm looking at the value of the property we're talking about. If you put it in the back of N Street, and I meant to look up the dimensions of the lot, and I did not. But cost effectively, if N Street, and again, it's a little further away from the well that didn't have good water. So isn't that more advantageous to get a little bit away from that? Because the other well that was put in was put way too close. And if this water's bad, this water's bad. So I would think that trying to get a little bit further away from the bad water might be more advantageous. Plus, we could get a whole lot more for that property if we were to turn around and sell it. Or is it all a court thing going on right now? And that's why we have to put something there? And is that why the owner has us in court?
No, that has nothing to do with it.
I have
People in
no-
high places.
I have no,
Okay,
I
answer's no.
have no answer for that.
So we have to do it, well, what if we didn't own Desert Palm?
Have to.
Which we still don't right now. We haven't had any money transactions. And we don't even know what he's gonna ask for it, correct?
No, we do.
What's the figure he wants?
It's pending litigation, we really can't comment.
You can't give the taxpayers an amount?
First of all, I'm not doing litigation. Second of all, as I understand, in condemnation, the borough already has title to the property. The only argument is how much has to be paid. Money was put in escrow, they're arguing X dollars, the borough's arguing Y dollars, and it'll be decided by the court. But the borough already owns the property. They have title.
Even though, so
They have title.
we could end up paying a lot more for this than we originally anticipated a number of years ago, with the price going
The
up.
court's going to end up deciding the number. And I'm not doing litigation, and it really
Okay,
can't,
so we don't
and they
have
can't
to put the
comment.
well there for any court decision.
No.
Okay,
It-
then
no.
I want an answer as to why it can't go on the back of N Street so we could sell that whole big piece of property and get a lot more money for it.
I'm just thinking here, I'm thinking here what you know and I know,
I know.
excuse me,
Yes.
and I want to sell N Street.
I
Now,
know.
If we put that well on N Street, who's going to buy that lot?
Well, that's
Who would buy that, excuse me, who would buy that lot with a well?
Who's gonna buy that with a well on it?
Well, we got more property, we have more property on that property to make, you go around that.
Okay,
If you put it on that street, you're killing that whole lot.
Okay, then what I suggest is you work with Bear and Council and get that lot sold. Thank you.
You know I tried.
I know you're
Questions or
trying.
comments?
Bill.
Yes, sir.
Phil Nufio, 68 Decatur Avenue. My question pretty much encapsulates what these folks have been saying. Why can't we have a detailed benefit cost analysis on alternatives, such as N Street, as Shirley mentioned? That's basic to making any kind of important decision in local government. I ask you, can't you do that before you roll this thing out?
Yes. Nancy?
Nancy Corey, 33-6. Well 10 is decommissioned or not working, am I correct? Because it's the cloudy water.
It is currently
Okay.
in operation, it's not decommissioned. The-
Well, you don't get this water.
Yes, it has turbidity and odor issues.
And that's in the Piney Point Aquifer.
That is in fine.
So we're going back into that aquifer on a perpendicular line away from it. And we think we're gonna put a test well in, and even if it doesn't come up clear, it comes up sandy or, cloudy, whatever the 10 was, you're gonna have to spend more money again, because are you gonna put a filtration on it, or are you moving at the well again? Because you're not gonna give it to it. I mean, you're all saying that we're not doing 10 a well house and so forth because of the cost. And you're also drilling a test well, which I know you have to do, but if it's going into the same aquifer, because originally we weren't even supposed to put 10 there, but I won't go into all that. So 11 is up there, and so
Yeah, I mean,
so the 2 million could certainly be a different amount of money by the time we're done.
well, the loan, the borough is going to qualify for principal forgiveness on the test
No,
well.
I understand that,
So,
but
I mean, the goal is to perform the test well, to evaluate the water quality based off the location and the analysis of the engineers within our office. You know, we do feel comfortable with the location, with the separation from well 6. And they're in this location, Piney Point is known to probably draw much more water. As you go further south along,
I remember this.
you lose capacity in the well.
Right.
So there is, so the further south you go, the less water you can produce out of.
But I
out
think
of
the
that
residents
aquifer.
are concerned over the fact that we are putting the well, and we obviously need a well, if we're not gonna do the stuff with 10, 11, up on this piece of property that's on oceanfront. And I think that the question also is how, if we didn't own Desert Farm or that property on Ocean Avenue, what would we have done right now? Because you weren't gonna fix 10. And may I also say that for the last 3 years, we've listened every time the bids came in, no one took the well 10 bids because it was too expensive then. And that went on for 5 years. So we could have had this done and fixed 5 years ago. That's the first thing. The last thing I want to say is about where the location is. Anybody can go on the web and find the appellate court case. There's 18 pages filed. And it talks about the borough locating the well up there, because they found out they needed the well after they bought the property. And I know that that's being held up, and he's trying to get it into the Supreme Court. But the well business happens to be in the appellate court division, and anybody here can read it. It is public, so it is part of that case. Thank you.
Any other? Yes. Right, well,
Ronnie Walker, 1401 North Ocean. I have 3 questions. Number one, how much sound is going to come from the generator? I live right close by that. I'm just curious.
It's an emergency generator when we do not have electric.
Okay,
Yes.
so it doesn't go on, it's not on constant, okay?
No. And there is a sound attenuating enclosure that it would be in.
Okay. Second question, if you test this first well and it is bad and then we do have to filter it, are we back up to the $5 million? Will it cost $5 million then for this well to be filtered versus $5 million for the other well to be filtered?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking, if filtration is the way the borough is going to proceed, then yes, there would be.
So we could possibly still be paying $5 million versus here versus there. Third question, when do you feel that the hotel is going to come down? I live across from it, and it is an eyesore. I mean, it's falling apart. There's all kinds of furniture and stuff outside. Out of curiosity, do you have an idea when we're going to take that down so that we're not staring at that?
I have no knowledge on
The
that.
court tells us we can. As soon as the court tells us that we can.
I mean, we
That's
had
what's in litigation.
in court, huh?
Yeah.
In court.
Thanks.
Any, Gert?
Hi, Gertrude Martin, 812 North Bayview. Just one question. With all the new technology and everything, don't new wells come equipped with filtration systems? I mean, to just, I hate to say it, common sense, have it built with it so that it alleviates problems in the future, or they don't do that yet?
So a filtration device is a large, it's like a large vessel that has media inside to like remove any contaminants that are in the
Kind of
in the
like what
water.
you have in your water filter.
So currently, the borough has 3 Piney Point wells within the borough that are currently active at well 6, 8, and 9. So they don't require filtration. There is no filtration because the Piney Point produces very high water quality, and they don't have filters. They just have a well house, and they pump directly into the water system. So we wouldn't install filters without the need for it.
Okay. I just thought they make them now.
They're large vessels that are 8 foot in diameter by 20 feet long that would be above ground. So they would actually, they would be a substantial structure. There would be a treatment plant. It's not something that would be underground. It would be something that would be above ground.
I just thought maybe they make them with it to alleviate the problem that could ever arise. But no, thank you.
Thanks, Gert. Eden?
Meeting Plan, 48 11th Avenue. I am really confused. Well 8 and 9 are in Piney Point Aquifer,
Correct, and so is well 6.
and so is well 6.
Correct.
What aquifer is well 10?
Well 10 and well 7, both Piney Point. So
Where's well 7?
Well 7 was the borough's largest producing well for close to 30 years. Well 7 developed a water quality issue after being in operation for a very, substantial amount of time. That is why well 10 was drilled. Well 10 was drilled within a close vicinity of well 7 because of a permitting restraint. But the impact to well 7 and well 10, the surface encroachment into the aquifer was contained within that area. So they both had the same water quality issues.
Okay, so all the current wells, whether they're working or not, are in the Piney Point Aquifer?
Correct.
6, 8, 9, 10?
Correct.
And the proposed well is in the Piney Point Aquifer?
Correct. And you are limited, the borough, because of the critical area 1, the borough would not be able to drill a well within the deeper aquifer.
Okay, so please help me. If 10 is in Piney Point and 10 has problematic water, how is 11 anticipated to not have problematic water? Does 10 have problematic water because after a certain number of years that can happen? I guess I'm asking, isn't all the water in the same aquifer, the same quality? I mean, I guess it isn't because 10 is not good. But
It's not, because it appears that there's been some intrusion. So like along the bayfront, there has been settlement between there's been construction, driving piles, you have things that have caused some type of interference that's caused that well to draw in surface water that has a turbidity issue. So there's been some type of compromise issue within that specific area that is causing the water quality issue, because it did at one point produce clean water. It ran for decades and it produced clean water. There was something that compromised the aquifer in that area.
Thank you for explaining that. That's the first time we've heard, or that's the first time I've heard that. So that helps me to understand why the water from well 10 is from the same aquifer, but something else got into it.
Well 7 produced clean water for several decades.
Okay, thank you. That answered my question.
Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Mike Spadafino, 59th Avenue. I have a couple of questions. That peak capacity, if you have to shut down 6, I've never quite understood because nobody's been able to show me. 10 is potable water, yes, but because of turbidity and odor, how bad is it? I mean, is it like if I had some water from well 10 and from well 7 and I held them up, would I be able to immediately say, holy crap, I'm drinking mud? Or are we talking about a slight cloudiness?
You could see you could visually see the difference. I mean, it is noticeable. If you compare them in clear glasses, you would be able to see the difference. But, and I'm going to be honest with everybody, the issue with well 10, it is something that there was a permit in place that it's not harmful, but it is more of an aesthetic issue, like the odor and taste. Like it would be treated with chlorination to address any bacteria issues. But there was a permit to operate that gave the borough the opportunity to turn well 10 on or off, last on, first off. The problem is, the residents wouldn't be happy.
Yes.
You guys would not be happy with the quality of the water.
But I'm saying again,
Very,
if,
it would be,
if well six
Not
was
recommended.
shut down, and, you know, to meet that requirement of peak capacity, or whatever you said it was, the water would be pulling from 10 as well as from 7 at the same time, wouldn't they? I mean, those waters would be coming to the faucet from both wells at the same time. It wouldn't be like, you're only getting water from 10 over here, and you're getting it from 7 over there if you're on those streets. They do come to the same pump point to go to the town, right?
well, the wells, when the wells are on, they fill your towers. So basically,
Okay.
they pump, like, people draw down the water as the wells are running. People are drawing down the water as they're running, but basically the pumps are turned on to fill up your elevated tank. So like all the water it would, depending on which well. If only well 10 was running, then, you would notice some more significant.
Right. All right, so if they were together, it might not be as
But yeah,
bad.
if
Not that I'm
multiple-
saying that that's what I want us to do, I'm just trying to have a full understanding
Yeah.
of how the water and the capacity goes.
The borough does have an emergency interconnect with Shore Water and with Seaside Heights as an emergency issue, but that does not address the firm capacity issue.
All right, I understand that. Now, the second thing, the driveway length that you have up there, about how long is that driveway?
It's approximately 50 feet,
50
I
feet?
want to say. I can verify that.
Because what I was thinking is, why have this long driveway, why not have a smaller driveway, smaller so that it empties out onto Lafayette, and then you have more capable use of the remaining property rather than this long driveway? That's just something for you to think about.
No, I understand your point, and that is something to consider, for the borough, as they approach the second phase of the project.
And if you'll give me just enough time to ask this last question.
We have plenty of time.
Okay. Is our water here fluoridated? Is our water fluoridated?
No,
So there's no fluoride in our present water system, only chlorine?
only chlorine.
Okay, good. Then we don't have to worry about what RFK thinks. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Yeah. Harry, 21 I Street. I sat there and I listened. I'm wondering about timing, and I also, you said that with the test well, it would be running for up to 72 hours,
So in order to
pumping out.
get what's called your water allocation permit renewal, like amendment, you would need to provide them with a pump test. There's two options for the borough. They applied for what's called an aquifer waiver, which would allow them to do a 24-hour pump test. It hasn't been officially approved by the DEP. The goal is to run a 24-hour pump test to establish the firm capacity or the specific capacity of the well. However, they may be required to do a 72-hour pump test. That is, we're trying to get the approval to do the 24-hour pump test.
Okay, the first thing that came to my mind is if you're planning to do this quickly, we're in severe drought. And if you're running a pump and you're pumping water out for 72 hours, where's that water going?
It would have to be piped into the storm drain.
And we're in a severe drought, and we would be wasting all that
We're
water.
not doing this anytime soon.
The water has to knock down.
It's not happening tomorrow. I mean,
Okay,
it's just,
drought's been going on for quite a while.
Yes.
Ronnie Walker, 1401 North Ocean. Where does Seaside Heights get their water?
They do have a deeper they have deeper wells. So they're in the
Wells,
upper.
Not a water
Potomac.
treatment plant or anything?
They have treatment facilities. So they do have a different water quality than Seaside Park, but They draw from deeper wells and they do have filtration.
Could we do a filtration on this number 10 and not have to use that property for a well and sell it and get the return money back? I mean, they're so close, so why don't you just work together to do this? Where I live, everybody uses the same water people, you know? I don't understand why you don't work together. Maybe you can use what they have or build a plant that can filter all the water and you don't have to dig wells on prime property that's worth a fortune.
Charlotte? Okay.
In your firm, is there somebody that specializes in wells that understands I know you.
Yes, yeah, we have several. We do have, I am not the well specialist.
Right.
Joe Mingle in our office and Monica Bell, they are our specialists that have
So they've
been.
looked into all the problems with the water down there and they feel that
Yes.
will be good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
5 minutes per hour.
Tom Joseph, still at 704 South Bayview. Well 7 operated for decades and then went bad, exhibiting something like these kind of symptoms. Is that correct? As 10?
It was turbidity and odor.
Yeah, okay. Well 10, was it turbid and with odor from day one?
Yes. From my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Any other comments? If not, we'll close the hearing and thank you,
Thank
Pam.
you, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, guys.
And anyone else on council have anything at this juncture? If not, I'll open it to public comments. If anyone has comments on any of the agenda items. Hearing none, I'll close the public portion, and we have a resolution. The Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and the governing body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist in terms of a discussion as to pending litigation, contract negotiations, specifically of shared services agreement, and minutes will be kept once the matter involving a confidentiality of the above is no longer required confidentiality, then the minutes can be made public. Do we have such a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Motion by Council President Wilk, seconded by Councilmember Amabiel. Roll call.
Council President Wilk,
Yes.
Councilmember Anfield,
Yes.
Councilmember Condos,
Yes.
Councilmember Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Kraft,
Yes.
Councilmember Rotunda,
Jerry, you're on mute.
He's on mute.
Mute.
Jerry, hello down there.
Yeah, I'm still on mute, yes.
thank you, motion approved.
And we will go, hopefully, very quickly. Need a motion to go back out into the public session.
Excuse me, we're on the record, thanks.
Are you okay, John?
Yep, I'm good.
Motion by Councilmember Connor.
I'll second it.
Second by Council President Wilk. We are, take a roll call.
Councilmember Connor,
Yes.
Council President Wilk,
Yes.
Councilmember Anfield,
Yes.
Councilmember Condos,
Yes.
Councilmember Kraft,
Yes.
Councilmember Rotunda,
Yes.
motion approved.
And I would entertain a motion to adjourn the work session, take a brief recess, and then begin our regular meeting.
So moved, Mr.
Motion by
Mayor. Second.
Councilmember Amabiel, second by Councilmember Kraft. Roll call.
Councilmember Anfield,
Yes.
Councilmember Kraft,
Yes.
Councilmember Condos,
Yes.
Councilmember Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Rotunda,
Yes.
Council President Wilk.
Yes.
Thank you, motion approved.